What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Crypto Beat podcast brought to you by Bybit, a bi-weekly conversation where we talk to interesting, diverse, and thoughtful people in the crypto space. Today, my guest is Darius Tabatabai, who's building an exciting brand new project in Web 3.0. And full disclosure, Darius is a very good friend of mine. So I'm just happy to have him on so we can get an opportunity to catch up. So welcome, dude.
Hey man, how's it going? It's nice to be on the show. First one ever.
I know. Thank you so much for coming on. And where are you right now? Are you in England?
I am in sunny England, yeah. So not sunning myself as you are in Portugal, but I am here enjoying myself, living the grey and rainy life. How are you doing?
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's crypto in general right now. By the way, do you know, so I have to say to anybody who might be listening, you were a major push in getting me in the crypto space. And now here we are. And I get to interview you, which is exciting. And I already know your story, which is an amazing story, right? But I think it would be cool to give people a little bit of context of just how you ended up in crypto and what's your journey been to get here? Because obviously you were in traditional finance, all these sort of things. Do you want to, just tell us a little bit about that?
So I basically left. I was working at large banks and then left maybe doing that 7-8 years ago. Took a year or two out and then went to set up a hedge fund with another guy in commodities, which was the worst time ever to set up commodities, probably in all history. And then sort of crypto got interesting in 2017-ish, 16. And BitMEX came out, a couple of things came out, and I started trading a bunch of things, Kimchi Arb, cash and carry on BitMEX. Just all kind of, I should have just bought Bitcoin or ETH, but anyway, I was around with it then, and I wanted the firm that I was at to do it, and for various reasons we couldn't. And then at the same time, I was doing stand-up, which is how we met, which was fun, and then was doing that very seriously as well. And then a few years ago, pandemic happened, stand-up stopped, and I was like, oh, I've got nothing else to do with my time. I started going down the rabbit hole with crypto and decided to go full time almost exactly 2 years ago. And then I was running trading at a couple of different firms and doing various things and had the idea for Vertex. And then here we are, man.
And here you are. Does it stress you out building a project right now, launching a project? Are you stressed because of just everything that's going on with the space or?
Yeah, look, it's kind of, it's a really good question. I've got kind of two schizophrenic hats I'm wearing at the same time, right? So one is the thing that we are building is exactly the solution to the problem that is occurring right now. So super performant, efficient, perps trading, on-chain, non-custodial, people hold all their capital on chain, and we're funded, we did that at the right time, we have amazing partners, all that stuff has gone great. But at the same time, of course, it's just terrible for the industry, right? All this shit that's going on, people losing loads of money, panicking, not unfairly, it's just bad news. So yeah, kind of two feelings at once, but we're excited about our project and I just try and stay focused on that, to be honest, because I can control that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you actually, because I think you're one of the calmest people I know anyway. You're just always nothing phases you, whilst I'm,
Thank you.
We did a very big comedy festival together and there was all the preparation for that. And I'm freaking out the whole time. Yeah. Everything is going to be okay. So you're just a super calm dude anyway. But I always feel like I'm anxious of just being in this space because it's just, it's very anxiety. like, so I wonder, when you're like building a project and you're coming out and every time you open your phone something else happens, how do you deal with the fluctuations of, because I think that's just the biggest thing. If anybody wants to launch a project or even just be a part of the space, people who might just want to be interested in, like, I don't know, trading, or there's just, I almost feel like you have to have like a mental health, like
Yeah.
some sort of psychologist just to help with like the mental health part of it.
Yeah, I think that's partly true. I have a lot of sympathy with that. And I think the fact that, all of this happens 24/7. So, like conventional markets, things turn off on a weekend. Well, there's no turn off on a weekend for
Yeah.
crypto. Everyone's looking at Twitter.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, by the way?
It's just a thing, right? Like, I think the bad thing is that if you're a person who's very addictive, like this thing is on all the time. You can always get your hit. The difference is, when I was working in large banks and things, when I closed my book on a Friday, I was done for 48 hours and I could sort of detox. This shit is just on all the time. So I think, like, I'm lucky, like I've got an amazing team. They do a great job. And my co-founder is one of the smartest people I know. So, like, that keeps me calm. But like, yeah, the crypto general shit, I think maybe background in trading helps. One of the things someone told me was, like,
Yeah.
if you're panicking, you're definitely going to lose. So you got to find ways to stay calm. So, having a plan and sticking to that and not being too up and down is all part of it. But yeah, I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for her. And I talk to a lot of these guys, friends, people in the industry, really smart, savvy traders. Some of these people lost money on FTX and no fault of their own. They really just trusted someone. And that was the biggest mistake they made. They trusted someone. That's sad that that's a cause of stress and anxiety, someone that they have trust. But there we go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's very Batman, like trust nobody. You have to have your own bat cave with all of your assets. It was. Let me ask you this though. Like, how do you? So you're talking about like the people around you. Now, this is like something that is, I feel, really big. Whenever I talk to people in crypto, it's always like it's such a hit or miss on whether people are capable or really know what they're doing, or because the industry lives so much on hype,
Yeah.
especially not necessarily the space that you're in, but NFTs, all of these things, new projects, where a lot of the times it feels like a project, a bad project with very good marketing will get money rather than a really good project with maybe like limited marketing. So how do you even find good people? Like, how can you be sure, like?
Yeah. So, like, I got kind of introduced to my co-founder through a mutual friend who strongly recommended them and said, like, this is a great dev and he's really talented and he'll work really hard. And meeting Alwyn was huge. Having him on the team takes away a lot of that risk for me and means I can just kind of focus on the business side. He focuses on the tech side. But yeah, like, if you don't have a strong team and people you can trust around you, I mean, you see these stories all the time, right? And I give you a clue, all this stuff that's going on, it's only going to get worse short term. People rugging and not treating their users well and not treating their team members well. It's going to be a nightmare. Luckily, touch wood, I have a great.
There's a lot of. No, yeah. I hope. I mean, if there is, I mean, I 100%. You're a very trustworthy guy in general. So, and also, I feel like you have a thing that a lot of people that are in crypto space don't have, which is like life experience.
Yeah,
like you've been around the block a few times.
Thanks, bro.
And
Thanks.
if you want to see how he's been around the block, check out his stand-up.
Wow. It's a lot to unpack there. Thanks, Andre. Yeah, like, for crypto, I'm fucking old, right? But that's crazy. I'm 40 and I'm really old. And frankly,
You're 40?
I'm 40.
Dude, you look good.
Thanks, brother. You too.
You
I
look
like
good.
it. Yeah,
Thank you, man. I'm 17, as you know.
yeah, permanently. That's what first attracted me to you. So, um, but yeah, like, I mean, look at what happened at FTX. Who would have thought a bunch of 30-year-olds running an exchange with no oversight and all living in the same apartment was ever going to cause a problem? Like, it's just,
Yeah, I
it's crazy, yeah.
that's why everybody you work with lives in their own apartment because that
And
is the
there's a huge hole in FTX, and the people that are suffering are users, and all this other stuff is just fucking soap opera, right? Like, doesn't really matter. All that matters is people lost money and they need to sort out what's happening. But yeah, I have read some of the crazy
well,
stories.
I will say I think one of the things that I notice as almost being, somebody who's, I'm almost like the representative for people who are not really in crypto but have like some interest. So I pay attention to a lot of what people outside of this space, because I think what thing that happens is people who live inside crypto live and breathe crypto, and they're so inside of it already that they kind of forget that the majority of the public, has a sort of different perception on it. So I think one of the things that I wanted to ask you is the perception of crypto obviously has changed a lot this year with all these scandals happening. Celsius, I mean, I got hit with Celsius. I called you after. I was like, hey, is this? And we were like, sorry, brother. I think your assets are gone. So there's been two or three kind of major hits that have made people lose confidence in it. So how much do you think that affects, the space in the short, medium term? Like, is crypto ever going to be, in your opinion, can crypto come back to the values that it kind of set out to be?
Uh, I think that's a really interesting question. The Yes, I think that all of this pain is really pain that was probably needed, short, medium term. Because in the end, what we had was, a bunch of dog coins sat on chains, and then people trading them and yielding them and doing whatever on centralized exchanges. Whereas the whole point was with crypto that it would be a peer to peer cash system. And then when Ethereum came out, it was a way of trading on chain, doing these smart contracts, having, world computer, as they call Ethereum. I think what's happened most likely forces us back in that direction and away from just being the trading of dog coins and memes. But in the short term, yeah, it's going to be bad, and people are going to lose interest in the space. Because if you're you know it yourself. If you're someone with a normal kind of amount of money in the ecosystem, but it's meaningful to you, and you lose whatever that chunk of money is you've made, and you had in an exchange you thought was safe, you don't want to go back, right? If you lose 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, that's a lot of money to people. And yeah, I think it's going to be bad for the industry, but long term become stronger.
So how do you rebuild confidence in the space?
I think it's going to be slow but steady. The fact is, a whole new generation of builders has come out of the last bull cycle. So the team at Vertex is one of those. Most of my team are much younger than me, you'll be pleased to know. But it's dragged in people like myself that were doing TradeFi before, a mix of, very talented young people who have been in the space for a while, and people are working on solving the problems, but it just takes a while for that cycle to turn and come to the next thing and build. And, in the last bear market, we saw the innovations of like Uniswap, Aave, synthetics grew. We've got like a big set of protocols that now are like very mainstream curve. I think in this next bear market, what you're going to see is a similar recycling of new technology, things that people haven't dealt with yet. So like very high speed matching engines that are decentralized, clearing on chain, non-custodial becoming standard even for centralized exchanges. There's just going to be a drift to that more like true crypto stuff before we see another bull market. So I think now actually you're going to see the innovations in the next 12 to 18 months that are going to be the foundations for what comes next. So it's actually exciting to be building something, but it's shitty for the market as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. By the way, I never asked you really, like, why did you move from traditional finance over to crypto? Like, what was the thing that made you be like, oh, I think,
Similar kind of energy that got me into stand-up. So like traditional finance has kind of been done. You know, the smartest people are competing for ever smaller and smaller amounts of money, and there's kind of just a limited number of ways of doing things. But when I got back into crypto and started looking at it, there was almost like an infinite amount of possibility for things that you could bring from TradeFi, innovate that was new, do new stuff with, more volatile instrument. It was just like a lot more going on intellectually, and it was just fun. And I've always been someone that just wanted to do new shit, and this was new, and so it was cool and fun to come and do it. And when I started doing it, the people that I met were just great. You know, crypto people are, if you meet the right ones, can be super interesting and quirky and fun, and I just love it. Yeah.
I think what it seems to me, just based on my experience of being in crypto this year, is that like there are very, very smart people in crypto doing a lot of really cool things that could change the world. However, that number is very small compared to the amount of people that aren't doing that much, but maybe are. And honestly, I think crypto in a way is a mirror of society, where you have this sort of culture of it's all about followers, it's all about just creating content, it's all about creating stuff, and it necessarily doesn't translate to anything worthwhile. You look behind the curtain, you're like, there's really nothing there. And a lot of the times people are doing things with actual interest, with actual value, just get, you know, mushed in with everything else, and it makes it maybe a little bit harder to stand out. I mean, do you think that's an accurate thing, or do you feel like people will always kind of stand out?
No, I think that is accurate. I think there's like a huge amount of things going on, and everyone's screaming for attention, and not always the most credible or the most honest people getting that attention. But I think, you know, if you're a grifter, right now, crypto's not a great place to be, right? It's going to be very suspicious and hard, and the easy money kind of gone. I think hopefully the better projects are going to come to the fore now, and it's going to be a good time to build.
You think this is sort of like the end of the period? You know, we're in like, I mean, you were there for it. I wasn't. The .com bubble, where everyone thought they were going to make money off like internet, like whatever companies, and then it was like a lot of them just weren't really anything. And then slowly the sort of more interesting projects or more interesting things in the internet started coming together. Do you feel like that time has passed where it was like the big money grab, and now actually can kind of stabilize? Or do you feel like we've got more, you know, more of these markets, more of this sort of, you know, downturn coming?
Yeah, I think markets move in cycles, right? So, but that analogy with the .com bubble is a good one. Like, there were plenty of pets.com in this cycle, but there's also the next Amazon, the next Google is also there. And if you're early, it's like being early to the internet. I really believe that. And you just want to be in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody who stays sort of believes in it somehow, whether it's the values that it represents, whether it's the future, whether it's, people have different reasons for wanting to stay. But I remember, one time I was just going through projects and coins. I'm just kind of interested to see what's out there. And I remember seeing this one. It was called Cum Rocket, the Cum Rocket coin. And I'm like, this can't be the future. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm all up. Listen, I'm all up for a gag. Like, if there's anybody who's going to get behind like a funny little joke thing, but I'm like, this is never going to, my parents are never going to get Cum Rocket. Do you know, like,
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm a builder. I worked in very serious jobs for a long time. But, like, crypto meme culture is quite fun. And you're not the only one who remembers Cum Rocket. I also remember Cum Rocket. I also remember that meme. So, like, if their aim was to make a thing that went up in price that people laughed about, they kind of got what they wanted. It's done, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think that there's a really kind of sort of fun culture in the sense that it's very young. So people are sort of like of a young generation, sort of TikTok generation. They appreciate, I think crypto appreciates comedy in a way that maybe other spaces don't, right? Which is cool. I mean, especially maybe for me and you particularly, who, have a pretty good sense of humor, appreciate these sort of things more, right? And I thought that makes you want to be in a space where, because we know that when somebody, crypto is self-aware, which I think is a cool thing about it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're making jokes and memes and things, it's because you're self-aware. And when you're self-aware, you can kind of work towards being, it would be much worse if it wasn't self-aware. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. As I said, it's one of the things that attracted me into the space. It was just more fun. Even in the very serious, big firms, I've been and spoken to people in all the biggest crypto firms, right, and spent time with them. All of those people are people that wanted to take a risk, wanted to do something new, wanted to do something innovative. They're fun, unusual people. And so, I think the space generally is that. It's vibrant, it's young.
Do you find that because obviously you're doing a lot of interviews and stuff in the launch of the project, you're doing a lot of presentations, you've done a lot of things. There's kind of building a project from the ground up. Do you find at all that your stand-up background has been useful in that?
Yeah, it's helpful to be a good communicator. I think one of the things that's difficult, our company's fully remote. A lot of crypto is fully remote, right? Being able to write and speak clearly so that people understand exactly what it is you're trying to get at is a huge skill. And I still, even after all those years of doing stand-up and running businesses and blah, 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 I still f it up sometimes. But that is, I think it's one of the hardest things is being able to communicate. And it was definitely very helpful when we were raising money earlier this year that I was able to be light with people when I met them and have fun at the same time as we were doing something quite serious. We were talking about, raising significant amount of money to build the platform and get people aligned with what we were doing. It was useful to have that. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, obviously, I think one of the things that comes with it is that you become a really good, you can really sense a room, right? So, for example, when you're pitching, you really get that sense of you can feel the vibe of the room. You know which direction you can kind of feel that you should go into. Should you go lighter? Should you go heavier? So I think that I would imagine to be quite helpful.
I think that's really perceptive. Exactly that. It was just helpful to do that. I mean, you asked about funny stories. So when we were doing the round, obviously VCs do due diligence on you. And one of the VCs is, I would say they've become friends as well as good investors in our project. And we went out for dinner one night And he took me to one side. He was like, okay, I got to ask you about this stand-up thing. Let's talk about that. I was like, oh shit, you know about that? He said, oh yeah, we did our due diligence. We went and found you online. We went and found some videos you left up in weird corners of the internet, blah, blah, blah. So they see the routines. He was asking me questions about it. It was a whole thing. Yeah, it was quite fun. That was quite funny. That was
That
a
is
good.
awesome. Did you delete?
I
Did you
took
delete a bunch of stuff?
I took a lot of it down. Yeah, as you know,
Wow.
my stuff was quite personal, right? And
Yeah. I mean,
I did,
some of the fondest memories I have of stand up are with you. Of
yeah,
some of the shows that we've done that were like wild, and you were like a wild performer as well, which is
yeah,
you wouldn't expect. I think it was just this sort of really cool thing of this guy who's works in like traditional finance, has a very kind of sort of straightforward path, and then as a performer, you just almost become this alter ego, which was
thanks, man.
awesome. So
Yeah,
do you I mean, I guess I had, two questions, which is A, do you miss doing it? And then B, what was the reaction of this guy when he found out about this? Was it cool, or was it like,
so yes, I miss doing it. Um, it's difficult, I moved out of London, as you know, and it's just a bit more difficult. Like, my wife's pregnant. I got a big company we're trying to set up. Life's busy, so I didn't have the time stand up deserved. But yeah, this investor was great. He just thought it was hilarious. He thought it was really fun. They look for unusual people in companies they're investing in. He just thought it was a really cool story. He just wanted to talk about it.
so I feel the same way, right? I think, and whenever everybody, I feel the same way, when I started working alongside Bybit and stuff, that kind of became almost like a thing in for people
Yeah,
that were working in the office, whatever. It's like, oh, this guy's a stand-up. I mean,
yeah,
there is the downside of it. Is it like really like, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you crack a couple of jokes and stuff? But I think in
yeah,
general, it's like, I don't know if you feel this way, but most people in their lives, in like traditional jobs or whatever, they have either met actors or musicians, but not often have they met comedians. Most people in their life has never met a
yeah,
comedian. So then all of a sudden you see this guy who comes from, sort building up a project, whatever. Then there's this kind of fun thing on the side. I think it does help in a way, right? I mean, it
yeah.
certainly didn't do you a disservice.
No, no, no. And like, I think it's really funny that like stand up means a lot of things to different people. And obviously, like, when you're dealing with people on video or whatever, like they get a certain impression of you. So another one that was funny was a guy that works with us on the project. We're having a chat one day, and he said, I think it was the first time I was going to do a podcast or something. He was like really worried about how was I going to be on the podcast and da da da. I was like, bro, I got this. Like, I did stand up for like 5 years. I was doing a lot of performance. I'll be fine. He was like, you did stand up? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I would never think you could do stand up. I was like, fucking hell. That was rude. so, like, it means different things to different people. But he was like, you're so serious. I was like, am I? Okay. That's obviously what I project at work. But, we
Really?
do. Apparently.
That's funny, because I guess people also have different perceptions of people, right? Obviously, some people might see you as this sort of like powerful guy coming in from traditional finance, moving into crypto, starting up a project, all really serious and stuff. But for me, it's never that. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how you kind of have different facets and how those can kind of come together. And I do think because crypto is such a young space, there is sort of a lot room for you almost see that where like traditional finance has zero sense of humor, and then tech startups have some. The offices are fun and play games, and it's all about this kind of like do it yourself culture. So it's
I
almost
mean,
like crypto is huh?
yeah. I was going to say not anymore. They just started firing everyone, right? I mean, like, tech industry
Yeah,
generally
now
is,
it's not very fun.
yeah. I think, like, yeah, it just, people look at you as one thing and they don't see all of you, right? Like, it's very difficult. I understand why that guy thought that. He deals with me I don't know. He probably talks to me 2-3 times a week, and as far as he's concerned, I'm sort of some level of boss to him, right? So like to him, it's like, oh, this guy that we talk about something serious, and he talks to me, and then we go away. You know, he doesn't know. I don't know what he
Yeah.
does in his personal
He
time. He
does.
doesn't know what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I and let me ask you this. I've been meaning to ask you this, so I actually this is a good opportunity. What do you think was like the biggest challenge of putting together the whole thing? Like, what was the hardest part? Was it finding the team? Was it like what was the like the thing that you were like, oh, I didn't expect this bit to be so hard or as challenging?
I expected it, but definitely the bit that was the hardest, most important was finding a good co-founder. Once once I met Alwyn, like I was sort of confident that we could make it work. Until then, it was kind of you never know. But once I met Alwyn, yeah, all good.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. That was the biggest like. And what about the opposite? Was there something that you were like, oh, this was actually really easy, and I thought it was going to be pretty hard?
Wasn't easy, but I think we got very lucky with when we raised money. Um, you know, we raised earlier this year before there were significant meltdowns in the market in terms of credit contracting and stuff, and people were looking for decent projects to invest into. And that meant that we could partner with VCs that we thought would really add something. I think for projects raising now to try and do new things, it's probably going to be much more challenging. And so that was, I think we did an okay job in how we handled that, but I think partly that was luck, and I was sort of conscious how lucky that was. So, we
Right.
blessed, yeah.
Yeah. How is this like? How does all of this news though like how does it impact you? Like for example, when you see all of this with the FTX, like what is your first reaction? What do you think? Like you read the news, you're like,
I mean, first reaction was like everyone else, like, holy shit, how is this happening? I think second reaction was, ah, shit, this is going to be really bad for crypto in the medium term. And then my third reaction was, well, this is why we're building Vertex. Like, this is everything that we've been kind of saying for like 6 months. And this is why we're doing it the way we're doing it, building the way we're building, offering the product we're offering, is we think we can solve these issues and provide a comparable experience. I think people have been a little bit lazy about self-custody up to now. Like lots of users, if you speak to them, they'll be like, who cares? Nah, it's fine. It's FTX. Who cares? We'll be safe. I think everyone's waking up now.
I mean, I'm one of those people for sure where you call me every now and again, you're like, bro, put your things on and you were right. I mean Celsius is Celsius is the proof.
Yeah.
Like what do you think is the sort of, in your opinion, what do you think is the sort of public perception, for people who aren't in crypto, what is the public perception of crypto?
I think for most people, at best, it's really complicated. At worst, it's very scammy. And so if we want to make it like a better industry, you've got to simplify everything for users whilst retaining, without giving up all the good things. So like we made it simpler for users, but we gave up self-custody, self-sovereignty, and the result is what we've seen in the last year with sort of Celsius and FTX, etc. I think now people building a Web3 need to work towards how do we get the right user experience, but with all the self-custody and safety and everything else that crypto offers.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and also I guess, education is I think is a big part of every single company that is operating in the crypto space. Like really invests a lot in education and invests a lot in kind of outwards programs to make people more aware of crypto. But I wonder sometimes, you know, is it working, or, you know, is the like the way that we're going about the education process, is it the right thing? Or, you know, I mean, what do you think? What do you think would be the best way to reach people?
Yeah, look, I
Because
have
crypto
mixed.
at this point, I feel like,
Sorry, go on.
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I
I feel
have
like,
mixed. Like the education is fine, it's great. Yes, you should be more educated, and no, but like when I use my iPhone, I don't have to be educated. I can give it to my 3-year-old. They could use it, no problem, get what they want, and be relatively safe with it. Until we get to a point where it's so simple and the user experience is good, I think it's hard to put that much weight on users. Most people are inherently lazy, right? They just want to use something and they want it to work. And the problem with crypto
yeah,
is we're not at that stage.
you know, so I guess it's the fact that, like, do you think one day, you know, and maybe is that day close by where people will be using sort of, you know, blockchain technology without even realizing they're using it?
I was going to say the changing point probably exactly that. When you pick up an app and you press a button and it's using blockchain in the background for some reason that you're totally unaware of. At the point where you get to that level, that's when we know it's going to make it. For now, we're just trying to get the technology where it needs to go, I think.
What do you think are like some really cool uses for NFTs, crypto, blockchains, whatever, that have not even kind of been talked about, but maybe not so explored as they could have been or should have been? Or because a lot of what crypto is right now is, although you have amazing, cool projects, it's also, like we talked about, it's a lot of hype. It's a lot of, just kind of bottom of the barrel stuff. So how do you elevate? Like, what are some actually real cool uses that this technology could have that people aren't aware?
Yeah, I think I think there are obvious use cases in like gaming, social media, kind of finance more generally is probably the big use case. At the moment, it feels like we're in a kind of alpha or beta stage for crypto generally. Like once you start to see assets going tokenized, put on chain, the way that really could open up things like clearing, trading. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that, I saw it in conventional finance. Like I traded FX for a long time. Foreign exchange markets would be amazing if put on a blockchain. There's like a million reasons why they should be on blockchain, but at the moment, it would take such a big shift from the banks that it's not happening. I think we need to get to a point where like maybe we start with some smaller use cases like gaming, etc. That's going to just move it along. But yeah, it's hard to see. For now, I'm just concentrating on like how do we build the best best trading infrastructure, so we've hit that like product market fit.
Yeah. And when are you launching?
We're going to launch we'll probably have everything up and ready to go by mid-December, so in about 4 weeks, but probably do launch proper in January, so it'll be like a whole launch sequence as we go forward.
I imagine there's going to be a fun party somewhere in the world.
I don't know. I'm not planning any parties yet, but I think we'll definitely have to have maybe a very energetic offsite at some point in Q1.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's why I'm in crypto. It's the parties.
Yeah. Generate some stories.
It's the parties. Honestly, you go to a crypto party and you never think the market's down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never thought, man, we're really taking a hit here. But maybe the next party I go to is like a packet of crisps and like a 6-pack of Budweisers. And you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, guys, the market's down.
yeah. Like
No,
I, until that stops, until we're down to a packet of crisps and a couple of lagers, there's probably room for things to go lower. So I'm staying cautiously optimistic, but yeah, I think some of that's going to go away.
do you ever think? Do you ever think crypto is something that people will be like? Because I guess the initial idea of crypto was that it was going to be currency. People would use it as opposed to dollar or euro or pound or whatever. Also a good way to fight inflation in a way. But it seems like it's kind of like more and more moving away from that to becoming an asset because people don't really use it, or even businesses that accept crypto. In our Crypto Beat series we did for YouTube, a big part of it was that we'd go to businesses that accepted cryptocurrencies as payments. And
Yeah.
what we found is that a lot of them did accept it, but not a lot of people paid with it. So if people seem to kind of believe that you have to keep it, hodl, 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 whereas for something to actually be currency, it has to be exchanged, it has to be used. Do you think it'll ever get to that point, or is that ship sailed?
I think there's like interesting use cases for crypto in payment systems, but I think that thing of paying with crypto is probably unlikely to take grip for all the reasons you just said. But like, there's lots of ways that in the background of the technology, people could be using crypto rails, and there are loads of reasons why that would make sense. I just don't know that like the killer use case is going to be that you come into a Starbucks and they say we accept Bitcoin and then you pay with Bitcoin. You know what I mean? I think the killer use case is going to be like banks and payment networks using stable coins in the background on Ethereum rails or some other blockchain that they fire dollars or whatever currency around. That to me makes more sense. Like, I just can't see Bitcoin being a replacement for fiat.
Yeah. Do you not think it could? I mean, inflation is crazy, right? I mean, even I that have very limited knowledge about world economics can confidently say things are, they're like it's fucked. So, crypto could really help with this. I feel like that is a huge use case for it. No.
Yeah, well, there's multiple things that like currency performs, right? So one is currency acts as a store of value. So that's the classic use case you're talking about, where people don't want to lose their money from inflation, so they put it in gold and they hold the gold and that's it. But like my dad's Iranian, as you know, right? And people in Iran has had terrible inflation for the last 40 years. Okay, so people in Iran have traditionally held a lot of gold as a way of insuring themselves against inflation. But when it comes to the other use of currency, which is medium of exchange, i.e., instead of us bartering, I give you some number of notes and you give me my carat or whatever it is I'm buying. At that point, they always convert back into fiat and then into the thing. They would never pay with the gold. And I think it's the same thing with Bitcoin. You might use it as a store of value. I just can't see a world where you don't convert to fiat and then exchange, because it's too volatile to perform that service. And so you need to use something else as that like medium of exchange, which is fiat money.
Yeah, but I guess the big issue with that, I mean, all of that makes sense. It's just that there's just no, trust is just diminishing by that sort of that middle, that operator between, that's just kind of what it seems now. So before things can even get to the next point, there's just trust has to be rebuilt, right? It's like you've cheated on your girlfriend, which I've never done, but it's like if somebody cheats on their girlfriend on their wife, they're not going to believe at first that, they're not going to believe you at first, but you have to rebuild over time, right? I feel like I've been cheated on by Celsius. That's what I feel.
Yeah, so I think the problem is like a lot of people will feel cheated on by crypto generally, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so trust in crypto is definitely going to be at a low point for the next year or two. It's going to take time to win the
But do you
general
think,
vote.
in a way, is like how long do you think it's going to be until it kind of bounces back into a sort of, a little bit more stable situation that we're in now?
Honestly, I don't know. My head tells me a year or two at least. My heart says, just wait, let's see what happens in the next few months. I'm kind of terrified. We see
See,
another thing like FTX and we're going to be in big trouble.
yeah, yeah. You're the wife. You're like, my heart tells me, let's wait, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm
You're the
a
wife.
trusting. I trust.
Yeah. I know. I feel like, we've all been cheated. We've all caught crypto in a motel. And you're
Yeah,
like, but you said not again. You
baby, not
said
this
not
time.
again.
Don't worry,
Dude,
baby.
exactly. You promised. I put my life on the line for you.
Sam Bankman-Fried
Everything I
means
own is tied up in this
nothing.
relationship.
He means nothing. You know I love curls. Uh, yeah, it's dark.
But yeah. No, for sure. I think that's like the biggest thing. And in terms of, do you think a cleanup is good all around? Like, do you think all of these things, they kind of clean up a lot of the, perhaps, shady characters, shady actors that are in the space, and it maybe helps to kind of, it gives a chance of trustworthy projects, of trustworthy people, of to rise to the top? Or do you think everyone is kind of like at the bottom in the same, and it is going to be hard for anybody, for any project, to really, distance themselves as like a trustworthy thing to be a part of?
I hope that it will clear out the dishonest actors in the space, and what we'll see is that it gives more chance for good projects to build credibility through time. So we're a young industry. There's not that many businesses that have been around for, you know, more than 5 years, which is crazy, crazy young. And so, it gives us another year or two, people build credibility, be around a little longer. And, the longer something's around, the more it's likely to be a good operation and not scam you. So that's the hope.
Yeah, exactly. So trust over time. Like, the longer
Yeah.
you're around, the longer can people realize. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I got one more question for you, and then I'll let you go. I just wanted to ask you, like, what do you think, best case scenario in 10 years? Where is it? Worst case scenario, where is it?
Um, worst case scenario is, I think the worst and best case scenario is crypto goes mainstream. So like there's a version of that where blockchain technology gets co-opted by mainstream financial institutions, and then all of this kind of spring of new innovation and new things just gets absorbed into the mainstream system, and that would be kind of bad. And then there's a good outcome where that innovation cycle continues. There's lots of things going on, but it's augmented by what's going on in traditional finance, and so like it integrates rather than being absorbed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, and hopefully, as it grows, it can become, the technology can become something that actually gives more and more people value, rather than just being this kind of thing to the, like, on the side, that it feels like it is now. I mean, so many of the initial values and projects of crypto, ideas of crypto, I think, are a lot of the things that why a lot of us, certainly I, bought in, that
Yeah.
you have independence over your money, that people in sort of more difficult countries can have some sort of banking system in a way that is not attached to the currency of their government, or all of these sort of things, right? So hopefully it will move more towards that that, but it does feel right now that it's ideological rather than realistic.
Yeah.
So and I'm quite a positive guy, so I still believe in it. I'm still in it. You know, you're the one who texts me all the time, wag me, right? You're like, we're all gonna
Yeah.
make it. For those of you who don't know the thing,
Love WAG.
yeah.
It's the best thing I've got out of crypto.
Do you feel
Yeah,
like there's a
man.
real sense of community in it? Like, do you feel part of a community, or do you feel like, not really?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I go to a lot of conferences. I speak to a lot of traders. I speak to other projects. I have a lot of friends in the space now. There's good people, and they're genuinely working hard and trying to build something cool. Yeah, I do feel like there's a community. Definitely.
What's your favorite place in the world? I mean, you're always like, whenever I talk to you, you're always bouncing around, always up in like somewhere cool. What's your favorite place?
Um, yeah, in the last year, I've been quite lucky. I've been a couple of cool places. I really enjoyed Austin. It was super cool, really fun place. I went there for the conference this year. Um, I have to say, I haven't been for a long time, but I know a lot of crypto bros spend a lot of time in Bali. I love Bali.
Maybe we can set up a little trip there.
Yeah, maybe me
Bali's
and you.
awesome.
Yeah, maybe I'll
Yeah.
abandon my pregnant wife and we'll go to Bali together, bro. It'd be nice.
Yeah, nice. I like where your head's at.
Boys' holiday.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, to put your phone on do not disturb.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where the party could be. Dude, maybe that's where the party could be for the project. Get a little shindig up in Bali.
Yeah, cost cutting. We'll
So
do Bali pretty cheap.
exactly. I mean, at those prices, you could definitely afford a couple of packets of crisps.
Yeah, exactly.
So, dude, where can people find out more about the project?
Yeah, if they follow us on socials at Vertex Protocol, or they can go to our website, vertexprotocol.com. We'll be opening our testnet in a week's time. We've already had a closed testnet with a few users giving us feedback. We're excited to get more feedback. The product looks really cool. I think people are going to enjoy playing with the front end. And then, look out for our launch in early Jan. Start getting involved now.
And where can people find your stand-up videos?
They'll have to go to you for some private recordings. I'm sure you've probably still got some, though, from when we went to Edinburgh.
Right, I've got a lot of memorabilia from our time. I've got the posters.
Oh, shit.
I've actually got some here in my. Yeah, I've got some flyers. I've got some good memories from it. I even got that thing from that show we did in Porto. Yeah,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of.
Good time.
Remember that?
Yeah, it was nice. I
Yeah,
keep
it was.
telling people. I keep telling people my friend's really famous in Portugal, and I mean you, even though really it's Rui that's famous. But I keep bringing you up.
Thank you. I mean, I think eventually there's so many people saying like I think it's a whole people going around be like, oh yeah, that guy's like really big there, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then people hear like he's really big there. So then there's always this kind of like there's this kind of cool mysticism, but who is he really?
You're the Sam Bankman-Fried of Portuguese comedy. So
Well, yeah,
smoking.
I mean, do I want that though?
I don't know with
I
that
mean,
head.
can I be
That's
somebody? It's true. It's true. The head, the hair. I know. I'd like to be somebody. I'd like to be somebody. I'd be like to be compared to somebody that's like trustworthy and with, and financially stable. But nothing about me screams confidence, does it?
I mean,
Like you're never like.
how long have I known you? Like 7 years, 8 years? I don't think financially
Yeah.
stable has been a description for you in all the time I've known you.
Yeah, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you invite your friends onto your podcasts. You're like, oh yeah, come talk about your project. You'll be like, listen, you broke. All right,
It's
dude. Well,
André.
so guys, here are the key takeaways. You can check out Vertex Protocol at vertexprotocol.com. You can check them out on all the socials. Please go show some support. Dude, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate it, brother. It was really fun. Nice to chat.
And I look forward to the party. And I'll see you soon. I'm sure next time I see you, you're going to have a brand new kid. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'll look like this. It'll be tired times, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm sure you look much worse than you look now. I mean, I don't know how that's possible, but you know, we'll figure it out. And of course, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Get those notifications on so that you can see whenever a new podcast episode comes out. And join us for the next one. And I'll see you then.